What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs podcast. I almost said the Browns podcast. I was reading Browns things while trying to do this. I'm not a multitasker, guys, obviously. But Josh, Blake coming to you from the studio. Justin has to stay home, be parent duty. So we might see his kids pop in and out of here during this episode. But coming to you virtually from the man cave, Justin Charles. So we were still able to get all three of us together. Luckily we're not doing this podcast in 1987. We wouldn't be able to have Justin here.
Or probably any of the other tech we have going on in the studio.
That's fair.
We're trying to keep the mood light because obviously the Browns game was awful again, per usual, which seems to be the way this season's going to go. We're going to dive into everything today. A lot of stuff to get into. Got voicemails. Obviously, the Deshaun injury. Where do we go from here? What's the future look like? I'll give you a hint. It's bleak. So we're going to get into everything. We're going to get your guys' thoughts. Make sure you guys are filling up that chat. Let us know what you guys think about the game yesterday and just about the team going forward. So before we get into everything, though, remember, if you want to get your intros and your voicemails on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail in the drop-down menu. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of the new content we're putting out. And if you prefer to just listen to the show, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and Google. If you want to find us on any social media, just search at the Dawgs Podcast and you'll see us there. Probably bad-mouthing the Browns in some way, shape, or form, or arguing with mean people on the internet. So we could always use some backup. So go follow us on one of those social media accounts. If you're looking for more Dawgs content, head to jointhedawgs.com. Become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. Get access to the private Discord. Get to be a part of the Dog Pack Discord preview episodes. Play fantasy football with us. It's going to be it's a good time for everybody involved. So if you want to hang out with us all the time, meet some cool people from all over the world, head to jointhedawgs.com. Become an official Dog Pack member. I guess I should say, too, the November 3rd, if you're interested in the Dog Pack, it's not necessarily a Dog Pack get-together, but a lot of Dog Pack members are going to be up at the Berea Browns backers party the day before the Chargers game. We're going to be up there. Justin's going to be up there. Kenny Mack, a bunch of people that you see with the cool emojis here in the chat that are Dog Pack members, they're going to be up there. So if you want to meet us, I think there's going to be former players up there, right? Doing autographs.
I'm waiting on more detail. I've been talking with Kenny Mack. He's in the chat. Kenny, what's going on, man? So once we get the details finalized and all that kind of stuff, obviously we'll put more information out. So
yep. So, but keep an eye out if that's something you're interested in. It'll be a good time. The game might suck, but that'll be fun at least.
Right.
So to kick off the episode, before we dive into everything, we got a couple voicemails. We're gonna play one and just kind of get things going.
Yep. Tradition goes, and we'll just keep with it. Kenny Mack kicks off the show.
Yo, guys, it is Kenny Mack, and I want to talk quarterback and specifically what happened last year. We were on the ropes. We were lucky to fish Joe Flacco off and get him to reel off a couple wins to get into the playoffs. Now this year, you put in a situation where we back up that position with 4 quarterbacks. We have Winston to back up. We have Snoop to back up. We've got a couple Pro Bowls. Then the least prepared would probably be DTR. Well, move into this season, we hold on to Snoop, don't get anything for him, and we're set up with DTR, a young guy, and we're set up with Winston, who's the backup. Well, we get to this week, and the weirdest thing, we drop Winston to 3rd string, elevate DTR to 2nd string, and then we get a massive career-ending injury for Deshaun Watson. I can't believe the dumb luck of this event. And then what ends up happening? We hear from Didi on the reporting that, the young guy needs to be ready. Wow. Do you think that guy was ready? Looked like Deshaun Watson. Lost, running out of a pocket, not stepping up. I mean, the first couple throws were big, but other than that, he was not prepared whatsoever. So I don't know. Give me your thoughts on Winston. He was actually reading the defense. He turned his head. He put the ball where it needed to be and got us down for a touchdown. But I don't know what to do anymore. Go Browns. See you next week.
I think we fall in love with players that we draft, and then when they come in, they have a good attitude, and like they do some things in the preseason, like we fall in love with them. I think it's glaringly obvious that DTR is not a future starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. I don't know how many times to the people who are trying to sell that pipe dream to themselves, I got some magic beans to sell you. Right. That is, That's just not the case. I think maybe Jameis, like we talked about it before we came on here, maybe Jameis was in potential trade talks before this game, or maybe this was the game where they were going to give Deshaun the yank if he wasn't playing well and the boos were getting way too loud and that, it was just not going well. And they wanted DTR to kind of be like we talked about before this week, if you weren't going to play Deshaun, you might as well play DTR to see what you had. So maybe that was the thought process. And they were just, we don't want Winston chance. We're just going to let DTR play. I think the injury to Watson completely changes that now. I think you can't trade Jameis Winston, in my opinion, now. I mean, you'd be leaving yourself with one quarterback who knows your offense.
Yeah, I mean, when the report first came out late in the morning yesterday about DTR was going to be the QB2, Winston was inactive as the emergency quarterback, I was like, that sounds like they're preparing maybe they've got some trade negotiations going on with some other teams, or the other option, like you said, was they just want to avoid the Winston chance at all costs. So I don't know if we'll ever even find out now, because like you said, he is the only other quarterback we have that knows the system. And man, I know there was a lot of people pining for DTR, but it didn't look a whole lot better.
Here's the deal is, we're going to talk about it. This offensive system that they've cooked up is just garbage.
Oh my gosh, it's terrible.
It's so bad. You're putting offensive linemen in such bad situations every single play. No help on an island. They're not great pass blockers as it is, and you're asking them to do what they're the worst at 95% of the time. And you're asking them to do it on an island, no threat to run. I'm not even saying we have to be a great run team, but we have to be committed to the run at least. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if we're only going to average 2.8 yards a carry or 3 yards a carry, but at least try to run the ball a little bit. Make them like we did last year. We were not a great run team when Joe Flacco was in here, but we were committed enough to the run game that it opened up the passing game, and especially the play action passing game.
Right.
Talked about it a million times in terms of how it freezes linebackers and safeties just for a split second. Just gets them thinking just for a second. It slows up the pass rush just enough. They think, oh, it's a run, and they stop for just a second to give you a chance to get the ball out. This offense is bad, and I think you built this for Deshaun, and now that Deshaun's not here, you can fire Dorsey now if you want. You don't have to. If you want to let him stick around and be the offensive coordinator for the rest of the season before you fire him, whatever. But go back to the offensive system that was with Joe Flacco the last 8 games of last year. Get back under center. I know Nick Harris, put another fat lineman in at fullback. Run a couple 2 tight end sets. Let's run some play action. Let's get back to how we were successful last year when we had a ton of injuries last year too. The line is in fact healthier now than it was in our playoff stretch last year.
Yeah, that's what I think a lot of people are missing, the fact that we actually have our starting tackles for the first time since week 1 last season. And you talk about these guys being on an island. There's nobody more on an island than Jed Wills when there's nothing but green grass completely surrounding him and he's blocking nobody.
If Winston was so good, bro, the teams he was at he wouldn't have been released. I'm not saying that Jameis Winston's the future or he's an all-pro or a pro bowler. He's better than DTR. There's no question. We've watched them both play quarterback in the NFL. And all these people who loved Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston did the same stuff in Tampa Bay, threw for a crap ton of yards and a crap ton of touchdowns. He just turned the ball over a lot. We already talked about the last time he saw extended starting time in New Orleans. He threw 14 touchdowns to 3 picks or something like that before he got injured. So roll him out there. At this point, we want to watch some competent football. And I think you could go either way in terms of you tank and try to get a top 3 pick, or if you go back to Kevin's offense and you let Jameis play in it and he looks really good. Like he looks like the kind of quarterback, then you don't have to tank for a top 3 pick. You got your quarterback and maybe you sign Jameis to a 2-year deal and we still have a top 15 pick where we grab a lineman or a receiver next year to put with them. And then the next year, and then maybe we get our quarterback of the future a year or 2 down the road. So I think you have a couple different options.
Yeah, definitely. Justin, I know you were up at the game yesterday. How are you feeling about everything?
Oh, well, just pretty much more of the same, from previous weeks. It was another tough game to watch. We looked like we had no clue what was going on out there. More penalties. more, if it's 3rd and 16, let's throw to the line of scrimmage, that kind of stuff. Just while we're touching on Kenny's voicemail, I'm with Blake, and give me Jameis. I'm not saying he's like all world beater and like this thing's gonna turn around, but like give me at least the best chance of a competent product. You know what I mean? I know what we have right now with DTR, and it looks like last year heading into Baltimore. And you could say, oh, well, he was unprepared again. Well, then maybe we have a coaching problem. You know what I mean? But like, my God, just give me something to cheer for, because I haven't seen anything like that yet. And it's disheartening. It sucks. I don't want to sit here and just go through the motions of another year where we're just super frustrated, and all we get on here and do is just be like, well, it was rough. Yeah, that looked like dog shit again. Okay, on to next week. Let's do a preview about the same stuff. There has to be a change, and unfortunately, I don't see that coming in any way, where you're able to galvanize the locker room right now at all.
No, I mean, with Jameis Winston, at least you get the opportunity to continue to develop these younger players around him on the offense. I mean, just because the offense looks horrible this year and it's completely inept doesn't mean we just get to completely scratch everybody and have an entire new offense next year. Cedric Tillman's still going to be here next year, and we need him to be productive and helpful, and he looked good yesterday. And we need to be able to get him more involved and more experience and develop him better. I would love to see Jamari Thrash get some opportunities. We're not going anywhere this year. We might as well get these kids out there and let them grow into NFL receivers, and that way if they're not, then we find out sooner at least. But I think we might have a couple guys worth watching moving forward.
This person says, fix the darn offensive line for Chubb, 100%. This is, to me, where it comes back to if we go back to the offense for the last month and a half of last year with Joe Flacco, where the offense was explosive and we finished top 10. The offensive line is not amazing by any stretch of the imagination. But if we can get them downhill, run blocking, let's get some weight on their hands, coming off the ball, pushing people around. Let's get a couple tight ends in there. Let's get a fullback in there sometimes. Let's have a quarterback who knows where he's going to go with the ball pre-snap. Let's have a quarterback that knows where the blitz is going to come from. I mean, Deshaun didn't play a ton yesterday, and he was honestly having one of his better games in terms of completion percentage, but he still has no idea where the blitz is coming from. The one play, Chubb saved his life.
Yeah.
Like
that was honestly, shout out to Chubb. That was an amazing block.
Yes. And he had no idea where this guy was coming from. It's like, what are you looking at? So you can help the offensive line a ton just by formation, with your play calling, and just by knowing where you're going to go with the ball, at least having an idea and where to look before the ball is even snapped. The offensive line will look better. And the offensive line will look better with Chubb at running back as opposed to Foreman or Jerome Ford also. So I'm not saying we're going to turn into the Browns offensive line of 3 years ago where we're a top 1 or 2 offensive line. But I think if we go back to the way the offense was ran last year, everybody will look at least not lost. I'm not saying that we're going to rattle off 12 wins in a row and we're going to finish top 10 in offense, but we won't look inept like we've never played football before.
Right.
Do you want to go to another voicemail?
Yeah, we can do that. So let's go ahead and we'll get Brad on here.
Hey there. I know it's hard to feel like you don't care at all. Hey guys, it's Brad Moneymaker. Do you have the razor blades out? Oh my God. Ugh. Depression season is here. Jeez. I don't know. But you know what? Batman's back. Nick Chubb's back, and he got a TD this game. Did it matter, really? No. But I'd like to welcome you to the funeral of the Browns season here, because we got everybody here. Also, maybe even the death of the Browns fan base, because they like to cheer for people being hurt. It's just, if there ever was a clown show, we are continually showing it every week right now. And it's just disgusting to see, sad, depressing, disappointed. Deshaun's done for the season, so here we go. I don't know. Probably trading people, probably firing people. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. Anyways, I'm here for it all. Let's go Browns.
Like you said, Blake, I mean, before Deshaun got hurt, he was, 15 of 17 for 128 yards in the first half. I mean, he was on pace for his first 200-plus yard game this season. I mean, he was actually stringing it together. I mean, it was nothing super impressive, no downfield throwing, really. It was just all short, chunk plays here and there, little chunk plays, but
let's not pretend like the offense was looking good.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying,
but at least he wasn't sitting at a 12% completion percentage.
Correct.
At least the ball was getting to somebody.
And that's my point. That was the point I was trying to get to. Is last week Kevin Stefanski said we're going to stick with Deshaun because he gives us the best chance to win, and there was a lot of blowback on that, and everybody's saying, oh, he's being forced to say that. We speculated too, and then you saw the other two quarterbacks play yesterday, and it was like, okay, I think that was legit. I think he probably was it's not like it was a great chance to win, obviously, because we haven't.
I don't know. I thought Jameis looked like the best quarterback we have on our roster in the little bit he played yesterday.
I mean, he obviously did. It just, for me, it was like, well, it was the end of the game.
How much are the Bengals trying?
Exactly. So
yes.
I'd like to see him play a whole game to kind of get a better evaluation of what he can do.
Well, he's going to get a test this coming week. Charles, as a Ravens fan, as much as I hate the Browns, what y'all been going through is messed up. I wouldn't wish this situation on nobody. I like when everyone in the division is competition. I appreciate that, Charles. That's what I've been trying to say. That's what I've been trying to tell Aaron Butler. It's more fun when we're all good. If we're going to do a Browns podcast talking about how bad the Browns are, what is there for you guys to do?
Yeah. People come in here saying, "Oh, you guys suck." We're like, "That's what we're talking about."
Yeah, we know. Yep. Thanks for being here. It's way more fun when there's an actual little bit of rivalry to it. It looks like that's, at least for this season, done. Justin, you were up at the game. Brad kind of talked about it. It's kind of like the elephant in the room right now in terms of fans booing. How many was it? 50%, 75%? Was it a small contingent? How many people were booing? Just give me the vibe of the stadium, why that was going on.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like even before the injury, there was definitely booing going on, especially just based on like the offensive play, the first play of the game, like it just kind of, I think people were just kind of upset right off the get-go and frustrated. As far as like the injury, I wouldn't say it was the entire stadium, you know what I mean? It was definitely like little sections of people doing it. But I know I sit away side. So I'm sitting around some Browns fans, some Cincinnati fans. Cincinnati fans are sitting there being quiet. Browns fans are around me. The row right in front of me, there was 4 guys just like absolutely losing their mind, like they won the lottery. And my mom's telling them like, "Hey, sit down. You look like a loser." And the funny thing is she said, "Hey, I hope you know that the guy that comes in behind him also sucks right now." And she was wildly accurate on that. But the thing that's really like disheartening is like, I've been a Browns fan my whole life, and I don't think I've ever been that embarrassed to like be in Browns gear, you know what I mean? And sit there and like just listen to people. And I've talked to people today and they're like, "Oh no, they weren't cheering because he got injured. They're cheering because it's the end of an era." And I'm like, shut the hell up. You sound dumb. You sound so dumb. You're the same people that booed Tim Couch when he got hurt. You're the same people that booed Derek Anderson, same people that booed Baker. And now you want Baker back. For me, it was just it left such a bad taste in my mouth, and I was legitimately embarrassed. And I probably will take heat for saying this, but like I've never been like that disappointed to be in the stadium with Browns fans. Like it felt like I was just completely disconnected with, I would say like 40% of the fan base that was there. And I know my mom, the whole row we were in, nobody said anything, because there's a class move to it. The dude's literally, as soon as you see the cart, it's bad, and the cart comes out and people get louder and just, I think it's just a bad mix of, oh, you've been drinking all day and you're also just kind of dumb as fuck. And I hate to say that, but it is what it is. And like, it was disappointing. I said it right off the bat. I'm like, loser fan base. We look like losers, and I know people are upset and the play was bad, and regardless of the off-field stuff, you know what I mean? Like, I get if that's your deal, cool. But in that moment, you just don't do that. You don't. I watch, and I'm not comparing Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson, but I watched Nick Chubb go down in our biggest rival, maybe Baltimore, but biggest rival stadium, and you could hear a fucking pin drop. And I sat there and watched our fans cheering for a guy to get injured and chanting DTR and hooting and hollering. And I'm just like, yeah, good luck. Have fun. And I'm not saying like that, you know, obviously there's been calls for Deshaun to get benched and stuff like that. But I think there was a better path. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, like some of the fan base wanted that done. And like, I think we all kind of were ready for that. But there's a time and a place. And like in that situation, you shut the hell up. You don't say anything. I've never understood the booing your home team deal. I've never in my life.
This is where I disagree with you.
Shit.
Boo your home team when they suck this bad. But you don't cheer an injury. There's a difference between booing a bad team and cheering an injury.
And I've said that to a lot of people today where, you know, there is a clear difference because booing your team when they suck and they're just like we have all season. I mean, that's a rite of passage, I think, for fans. If you're displeased with your team, that's kind of your pathway to let it be heard. Cheering for an injury, that is a universal sports no. Like you don't do that. We played football. Like it doesn't matter who on the other team gets hurt. It could be their best player. You take a knee and you shut up. You don't say a word. You don't get excited about the other guy being hurt. It is, you know what I mean? It's just, you just don't do that.
And here's my thing too, is like you said that we booed Tim Couch and we booed Derek Anderson and Baker when we didn't boo them. That we cheered. Those guys got hurt and we cheered that they were hurt.
Sorry, my fault.
Yes, that makes you that makes you a shitty person. We also, this is before my time. I saw an old timer say that we cheered Dan Marino when he got hurt in Cleveland, and then their backup came in and beat us. You know, but you don't cheer guys. It doesn't matter what you think because those people who were booing him or cheering when he got hurt. You didn't boo him when he scored a touchdown. I guarantee you were cheering when he scored a touchdown. And to say that you only cheered that he got hurt because he's a crappy person, well, Tim Couch isn't known to be a crappy person. Derek Anderson isn't known to be a crappy person. Baker Mayfield isn't known to be a crappy person. This is now, it's a problem we've had.
It's a trend.
It's a trend.
Yeah.
And the thing that really irritates me about it is those same people who are cheering that he's hurt, then when his teammates come out and say, you can't do that, that's disgusting. Like a Myles Garrett, who everybody claims is their favorite Browns player, and they would quit being fans of the team if we traded him. We put out a video saying, should we entertain trades of Myles Garrett? Which, by the way, it became so apparent that 90% of people don't actually watch videos. They just read titles.
Right.
Because the first thing said in that video is, we don't want to trade Myles Garrett. And everybody's like, you guys are clowns. Motherfucker, you didn't even watch the video then. Okay. But everybody, if they trade Myles, I'm done with the franchise, blah. But then those same people, when Myles is like, you can't do that. That is disgusting. This is a man's life. Show some empathy. No matter what you think of him, that's somebody's son. That's somebody's friend. Those people are innocent. And they're watching somebody they care about laying on the field with, you know, their career and their, who knows what they're going to do with their life laying there. Show some empathy. It's not that hard to be a halfway okay person. Just because you think he's a shitty person, so now you should be shitty too. That you sound stupid. Okay. But Myles Garrett comes out and this is supposedly a guy you respect. You would quit being a fan of this team if he wasn't on this team. And he tells you that you are wrong for doing that. And you said, if he doesn't like it, he can leave.
I saw much of that.
Well, then don't bitch when he leaves.
But they will.
You know,
they will.
Don't bitch when he leaves. Don't bitch when we have to overpay free agents because they don't want to come here. Because you're here. Don't bitch when LeBron leaves twice.
Yep.
You know, like it's the same. Cleveland, we claim to be the best fans. We are fucking awful fans. Oh my God. I wasn't even going to get this fired up about it, but we've done it multiple times now. If you felt relieved, if you were like, man, like my dad is not a Deshaun guy. My dad borderline hates the man. Okay. I've gotten in, we'll call him civil disagreements with my old man about Deshaun Watson. And the first thing he texted me was, man, you don't want to see a guy get injured like that. If my dad can say that, you can say that. Okay. And even my dad, and then the second thing he said, but maybe this is what maybe this gets us out of this and this is done. If you had that reaction, if you're like, damn, I didn't want to see him go down like that. But maybe we can move on in this era. I perfectly understand that. There's a difference between that and booing the guy or cheering the guy as he's being carted off the field. Like, grow up and be a better person. It doesn't, him being a good or bad person based on your feeling because you have no proof. Okay. I now have more proof that you're a shitty person because I watched you cheer a man who was hurt than you have proof that he's a shitty person, because turns out this is evidence there was none. Okay. So him being a bad person doesn't justify you getting to be a bad person. This country's effed.
No, dude, I don't understand the mindset at all. I've gotten so exhausted and tired of talking to people about this crap all day. But you're right. I mean, there's not much more to say. You nailed it.
And I don't like to get political on this show, but the same people who are calling him a trash human, I bet you're voting for somebody. And I'm not saying who I'm voting for because it doesn't matter. I'm not getting political, but that same person's been accused by way more people. So I hate who we pick and choose who we're going to be upset with.
And I hate it. I hate picking and choosing when we're going to believe accusers and when we're not.
Yes.
And it's like,
that's why when it comes to this stuff, it's football. Well, that's why we talked about football.
Yeah.
Because 50% of this league is not Saints. I'm telling you that right now.
50?
Yes.
It's probably more than that, dude. I mean, the thing, if you think about it, let's just dial it back for a second. We're all shitty human beings. We've all done things. No one's got a clean record. We're all imperfect humans. It's just the way it is. So I don't know. I just feel like people need to chill out on the judgment leveling. And like you said, I'm with you. Totally understand okay, well, now we can maybe put this era behind us and move on and all that kind of stuff. Okay, fine. That's fine. But like you said, when the guy is laying on the field with his Achilles hanging on there, like, yeah, just come on.
It's not hard to have some empathy.
I mean, it's basic sports 101. You just don't do that. You just don't do that.
So, all right.
You got anything to add, Justin, before we play the next voicemail?
I mean, I think Blake brought up something that kind of got glossed over, but good luck getting players to come to Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you.
Good luck with that, because this is going to be something that is going to hang over this team at least for a while. This is a black eye. It just is not a good look. I've heard crazy stuff like real rabid fan bases saying, man, I can't believe Browns fans do stuff like that. Like that's what we're the picture we're painting right now. That's how we look to the rest of the NFL.
So my favorite comments in here are not everyone is a sexual predator. I've never sexually assaulted anyone. Neither was Baker Mayfield. Neither was Derek Anderson. I don't want to hear that argument because this isn't the only time it's happened.
Well, and I think you're leaving out the word allegedly.
Yes.
Because I've saw so many people today are like, oh, I have so many people say, oh, well, he's been charged with all these crimes. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? How stupid do we have to be as a society? Like, I am very fearful your personal feelings on what people do. I don't care. But when it comes to like facts and evidence and the legal system, we are the dumbest people in the world. Like, our society is, like you said, effed for the future, really, because nobody knows anything and nobody wants to learn. They just want to be ignorant and loud about it.
In fact, he's never even been charged with a crime.
Not one.
So, use details matter.
Yeah.
As soon as you say, criminal assault or rapes, you lose all credibility because you don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. And Justin, to go to your point, we can keep this conversation going. And this is just the list that I saw videos from posted, but these are Browns players who've already come out vocally voiced their displeasure with the way Watson was treated by the fan base in the stadium. Myles Garrett, who, like you said, everybody's favorite guy, and all of a sudden it's, well, he can go too. Greg Newsome, I'm hearing the same stuff. Well, get out of here. Rodney McLeod, Joel Bitonio. You guys want to bash Joel Bitonio? I'd love to see it. Jameis Winston, Obo, DeJuan Jones even spoke up and said something about
my favorite too is Jameis. Everybody's been screaming about Jameis and how much they like Jameis and how they watch him play. And then he comes out and gives this speech and everybody's like, well, then he can just leave. Okay, fine. Then we won't have a team. We just won't have a team. And then I'll have to listen to you complain about that too. We're just not everybody, but there's just so many whiny ass complainers in this fan base. And I'm not fans of other teams. So maybe it's this way everywhere, but this is the one I'm the closest to. And it's sickening to see just the disgusting nature of some of our fans. It's terrible.
The free agents thing, Justin, like you said, dude, It's a real concern because I've seen so many people that their instant comeback when they want to be a hard ass is like, oh, well, they'll just go where the money is. Free agents who are worth signing have options.
Yes.
And the money's going to be relatively similar between those options. Guess what will be a deciding factor? That fan base is nasty to their players. I ain't going there. If you don't think that's real, if you don't think that's going on in this brotherhood of the NFL, these players, you guys are very disconnected from this whole thing.
Yeah, and if you don't think that doesn't happen, just pay, like guys like Ken Griffey wouldn't play for the Yankees because their fans were shitty.
And we hear all the time about players recruiting their buddies to come. You know, it's like this guy was on the phone or on Instagram talking to this other guy saying, hey, you should come to Cleveland and play and all this stuff. You don't think they do it the opposite way too? Like, bro, you don't want to come here.
Yeah. Turns out word gets around. They all have each other's phone numbers.
Yeah, and they all have Twitter. They see the videos. They know what happened in that stadium.
Yeah. Just sit there and just be quiet.
Yeah.
It's a terrible look. And again, it's not an isolated incident. I would maybe slightly understand a tiny bit more and listen to your arguments about what you thought about him off the field, except for it just happened a couple years ago to a quarterback that didn't have off the field issues. So it's not an isolated incident. It's now happened 3 or 4 times in my life.
And the fan base is begging for that guy back. Begging, like, oh God, what I wouldn't give right now for Baker. I'm like, stop! You guys booed him out of town. You know what I mean? Like straight up. Now, like, did he do a lot of growing up? Absolutely. But I watched him go down, and people cheered. You know, and so I don't understand the argument. I don't get it. I just don't understand.
No, but. Well, we got one more voicemail from Stacy. She does mention the cheering at the injury thing, so we can wrap that conversation
What's
up
up,
too.
Dawgs podcast? So this is Stacy from Cleveland. That game was pretty much exactly what we expected that game to be. It is unfortunate that was Joe Burrow's first win against us at home. That does kind of hurt a little bit, but I mean, what did we expect? The Browns weren't going to win. We just got rid of Amari Cooper. Really don't have any receivers. I mean, I wasn't really, hopes were pretty low. But on the bright side, I will say I was at the bar watching this game, and every person in that bar was cheering when Deshaun Watson went down and got hurt. And if that doesn't say something to the Browns organization that when your starting quarterback gets hurt, everyone is cheering, then I'm not sure what else can tell you that we don't want that guy here. So that being said, I am a little bit annoyed that they started DTR instead of Winston. I honestly was confused, and I thought that Winston was hurt for a second, but it turns out that they had him listed as QB3. So I will say I'm quite confused about that, and I would have liked for him to start. Could we have had a chance to win this game? Honestly, possibly. So I'm excited to see how the rest of the season turns out and see what Winston, hopefully they put him in for a starter, because I'm sorry, DTR is just not the answer. That kid is not ready. That kid might not ever be ready.
The one point that I wanted to address with what she was saying there about the Browns organization does seem like there's a little bit of a disconnect between the fan base and the organization. Do you guys agree with that?
Oh, I think a lot of the frustration is that they brought some of this on themselves. One, by making the move, which we were all excited to get him, and a lot of people were. But it's not so. Then the move part, that already divided the fan base. And then what really unified the fan base in anger, I think, is the fact that you continued to trot him out there, even though he's playing as the worst quarterback in football.
Yeah.
We interviewed the guy. He signed my gear. I've met the guy in person. And so do you think I loved coming on this show then and saying, this guy sucks at football, he can't play football, he shouldn't be playing football for us? No, I didn't like doing that, but I also wasn't going to sit up here and glaze him and lie. If I got up here and said, yeah, he's playing really, really well, you guys would say this guy is either being paid or he just doesn't know what he's watching, and so did I enjoy sitting up here and crapping on him? But the organization brought some of that because they continued to, any other quarterback would have been benched 3 weeks ago, And so the fact that they continued to trot him out there, then you traded kind of a fan favorite in Amari Cooper, who everybody was saying he's having a bad season because he doesn't want to play with the guy that you keep trotting out there. So it's like they brought this on themselves. And now they got to pick up the pieces. I don't know if Andrew Berry's going to be here. I don't know if Kevin Stefanski's going to be. The only people I know who are going to be here are freaking Jimmy and D. And we've given Jimmy and D some flowers in the last year about how they've been ponying up the cash and they've admitted to their mistakes and they, they've been getting the right people because we all said AB and Kevin were the right people. But if you're tying them up and not letting them make decisions, and then you force them into a bad situation to the point where you're going to have to fire them, well, I'm going to take back all the nice things I said about you for the last year because it's getting to the point where there's chances going to be so far gone. I don't know if you can bring anybody back. And if you're going to draft a young quarterback, you might want to go get him a new coach. You know what I mean? Like you might want to go get a new coach and say we got the number one pick. Say that happens and say you're going to get to pick the guy you want to come in and build this offense and build this team with. Look, we got all these key pieces already. Chubb, Miles, Denzel, JOK, Delpit. We got all these pieces around this guy. You get the quarterback right. We'll make a move for a wide receiver or something like that and get started off on the right foot. So I don't know, like if you're going to do a reboot, I don't know if you're going to bring Kevin back.
I don't know either. I mean, so Star Ghost in the chat says the move wasn't the bad part. It was giving him a fully guaranteed contract. That's just an owner. That's Jimmy's discretion, right? The fully guaranteed is like whether or not the owner wants to go ahead and set aside all that cash for the player up front. And that was the cap hit's going to be the cap hit. You know what I mean? Like we talked to Jack Duffin about the cap hit and the cash. It's different. Like those are different things. And the cash was the guaranteed part of that. So I think people get more upset about that than they need to. I guess hidden in this, which I didn't know about until yesterday, but the Browns have insurance on Deshaun. So they're going to get around $30 million in cap space extra now next year for all the games he's missing this year for this injury. Josh is telling me that reports are saying he'll be ready week 1 next year. I don't freaking believe it at all. I think Achilles is the biggest injury in football, and he's going to be out a year in what I would think. There's no way he's back week 1. What do you think, Justin?
I've seen Aaron Rodgers now and Kirk Cousins recover from it. And I know Aaron Rodgers got hurt week 1 and Kirk Cousins was, I can't remember how far. I thought it was like midseason-ish. Like, I think it is something that he can come back from. But my thing is, I'm like, I didn't think that they just need to like clean split. I don't see Watson wanting to come back to Cleveland.
Just retire.
You know what I mean? And, like, your fan base just booed you as you were carted off the field. I don't see there's any way in hell that he ever, and I'm not sure that, there's other teams that are going to like line up to get Watson. You know what I mean? We've made that argument also. Like, I just don't believe that he might be on our roster, but there's no way that I see him as the starting quarterback week 1 next year.
I think you put him on IR on the PUP next year. And you just tell him to stay there and collect his paycheck for the year on the PUP and say he's recovering from an Achilles. This is his, second major surgery. He's an athletic quarterback. He's not a drop back passer like Aaron and Kirk. He needs his mobility and all that. And you just keep him on the PUP for the year that way because he's insured. And I'm saying this because he'll still get his money, but then we're paying him from like the bank. And not out of the salary cap.
Right.
And the only thing we're paying is the insurance premium for that year, which doesn't come out of the salary cap. So if he misses all the games because he's on the PUP because of injury, and then the insurance kicks in, which, maybe this is insurance fraud. I don't know. But I feel like you can get a doctor to say he's still hurt. Then you can roll over every game he misses next year, all that money, you'll roll over all that cap space into the next year. And then we're another year into his contract where you can start talking about splitting up dead years and that stuff where it's not quite as bad. So I'm saying, hey, man, you're injured next year. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's a complication in surgery.
And I think like you said, he's probably saying, hey, guys, I'm injured this year. Ain't no way I'm going back out there on that field.
Yes. Like, let me get my money. You guys use this insurance money. And then 2 years from now, I'll retire off into the sunset. You guys work the books however you need to.
Yep, I think so. So you guys want to dive into some other things about the game yesterday? Because there was a lot. I mean,
So the offense is just terrible.
I was going to say, can we just start with the? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, no, I guess see where you're going now.
And I'm going to say, the O-line, Jed Wills. And I don't know
I can't anymore.
I don't know what is going on in terms of so many problems with the offensive line this year seem to be miscommunication. You know, like you'll get two guys taking one and then a guy just comes free because you got two guys blocking one. I don't know if that's an Andy Dickerson problem. I don't know if that's the quarterback not calling out the right protection before the play. I don't know what is going on. But Jed Wills has more plays where he just turns around and stands there like this than any offensive lineman in the history of the NFL. I've never he has regressed to the point that he's unplayable. And we last year before he got hurt, we were kind of bummed when he got hurt last year because it was like, oh man, it seems like Jed might be kind of turning the corner a little bit, especially in the effort department. Like we saw him kind of getting after it, being a little nasty. We're like, man, this is a bad time for him to get hurt. He seems like he was maybe starting to get it a little bit. And then now, I mean, he looks lost. He looks like everybody else on the offense lost.
How about everybody else on the team? Jack brings up a good point about Hopkins missing kicks. Like it triples down to everybody. Like we have ineptitude across the board in this roster. I mean, Martin Emerson has regressed. We've seen all these players we hyped up last year and all offseason. Like, yeah, man, these guys are really developing and turning into studs for this football team. Done, gone. It's not there right now.
It's contagious in terms of this is why I don't know if Kevin will be back next year. As much as I think he's a good coach, like the locker room is just we're so undisciplined. Oh. So many pre-snap at home to be getting these pre-snap penalties at home. How many illegal motion or illegal shifts are we going to have this year? You haven't figured out the motion yet. No wonder we never use it. We can't fucking do it without getting an illegal shift or an illegal motion penalty. I mean, it's just and once you get into that mindset, it's so hard to get out of it.
Yeah.
And the season's toast, so it's focused. Now you're not focused during the week. You're not preparing the same way. You don't feel that edge. It doesn't matter if I make or miss this kick because we're freaking 1-5 anyways. Nothing matters. So I'm just going to go through the motions. I'm not going to be mentally focused. And maybe they'll sit there and we're trying our hardest, but subconsciously, it's done. You don't have that edge, and it's almost impossible to get it back mid-season.
We go out, first play of the game. We kick off. They return it for a touchdown. It's like, oh, great. We just set the tone for the game, and we're down 7-0 to start. And our defense comes out the rest of the game and holds Joe Burrow to, 180 passing yards, and they score 14 points against us. And we couldn't beat them. Yeah, defense was great.
I have said all year that this defense, I think they're overall 15th in the league right now. This defense, if we had an offense that could hold onto the ball and score some points and give any kind of sign that maybe we have a chance to win a football game, this defense is playing well enough for us to win football games. They're playing plenty good enough for us to be competitive and not be the dumpster fire we are.
Yeah, because we're never playing with a lead, so therefore our defense never gets to kind of pin its ears back and kind of play with a little bit of,
And that's buffer. The strength of this. The strength of this defense is to get a lead, and then you got all these pass rushers up front, and you got all these press man cover guys, and you're pressuring, getting and making them get rid of the ball quick. We don't have that right now. So I will stand. Yes, there's been a regression in tackling and stuff like that. I'm not saying they're playing as well as they were last year, but if you put a good offense out there, or at least a competent offense, one that wasn't lost looking like chickens with their heads cut off, this defense is playing plenty good enough to win football games.
Sure. I mean, I also like what we're talking about, like week to week, it's always something, right? Whether it's penalties or it's, just mistakes, mental mistakes. Special teams, you can make the argument special teams cost us the game. You know what I mean? It's basically an 11-point swing. You have the opening kickoff. You have Hopkins, which Hopkins last year was money. You know what I mean? When he trotted out there, I was like, ice. I was like, hey, we got this. And that was the first time we're talking a lot of years where a kicker would roll out and I'd be, maybe since Phil Dawson, where I'd be like, yeah, okay, we're good. Even if it was a game winner, I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. This is it. And Oh man, I don't know. I don't know what has happened with him, but special teams, you can make the argument special teams cost us the game yesterday. Now, like I know we get a touchdown at the end and it's kind of garbage time and who knows, but it's always something every week. I feel like we're a play or two away and then, it's unfortunately we're backed up 10, 15 yards or, we're sacked and we fumble the ball. It's something every week. To the point where it just comes down to discipline and structure. And that's where eventually you keep piling these games up. There's going to be a fall guy. There might be multiple fall guys.
Yeah. Ashton said he's terrified to hire a new coach, but it might be that time. I feel like every single week I'm trending in that direction. And I've been a huge Kevin supporter and
we love the guy.
Yes.
Yes.
I think if we fire Kevin at the end of the year, he'll be a coach again. He'll be a coach again.
Yeah, he's not going to go be a coordinator for 5 years and then get his next shot. Like, I think he'll be a head coach again too.
Yes, because I think around the league, he's respected enough that they're going to say, look at the shit position that this ownership and maybe a GM put him in. He went out there and took this team to the playoffs with 5 different quarterbacks. He had Joe Flacco playing the best football of his career, looking explosive at age 65. And then you make him fire half of his staff, completely change the offense away from what he knows to play for a quarterback that maybe he did or did not want in the first place. And then you made him to continue to roll out that quarterback. You sabotage your 2-time coach of the year. So I think around the league, Kevin has the respect of enough people that he's going to get another head coaching job. It's just at this point, it's so far gone. You don't need to completely rehaul the entire roster, but you might just need to get new voices, new everything in there to just kind of right this ship with some of these guys. So I agree. I'm terrified to do it because I don't know. I don't know if you're going to get the guy you want because of how much of a dumpster fire. I mean, the guy I would want would be Ben Johnson,
right?
But I don't know if that's going to be a guy who's available or a Brian Daboll. I don't know if he would come here I don't know if the Giants will fire him or not. He's not the one who paid Daniel Jones. He's not the one who traded Saquon Barkley. But if they bring a new GM in, that GM's probably going to want to hire his own coach. So I think there'll be guys available that we would be interested in. Vrabel's in our own building. Would he stick around? I don't know. I don't necessarily want to lose Jim Schwartz. I don't necessarily want to make Jim Schwartz our head coach either. So it's a disgusting situation. Like
Definitely not what we thought we were going to be talking about this year. I mean, I thought it was going to be AFC North competition the whole way. Like we're fighting neck and neck with these guys. We're competitive. We're winning games, all this kind of stuff. And it couldn't be further from what I expected this season to be.
No, it's. I guess should we talk a little bit about Chubb? Were you
Absolutely.
Guys? What was the stadium like when he got announced?
Oh, absolutely incredible. Absolutely crazy. And you knew it was going to be, anytime he touched the ball, even, there was a lot of plays where it was pretty much like a 1-2 yard run. I mean, the fans let him know. I think for the most part, he's a lot of people's favorite Cleveland athlete. You know what I mean? Like I think he's just that dude. He's way up on the list for me. He's probably my favorite Cleveland Browns player, ever. As far as in my life, he is just somebody that we've all kind of loved and, appreciated the work and what he's done with his career. So even though you look at the stat line, you're like, oh man, 11 for 22. I mean, the stadium was rocking when he scored, which, that was a good moment, but unfortunately it was right after, a huge injury and stuff like that. And it just kind of weird, just kind of a weird vibe altogether.
He had to score twice.
Huh?
I said he had to score twice.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
First one got called back on a penalty.
Were you guys surprised at how many touches he got? I was right there with the 11 and just even he was on the field a decent amount.
I was more surprised about the snap count.
Yeah.
The touches was about right, but yeah.
I only look he got out as far as I know, no issues. I look for that to just keep ramping, especially with the loss of Deshaun, hopefully revert back to some more running the ball, some more of last year's tendencies. I look for him to be a focal point of the offense. Do I want to do that? Do I want to run him down for a lost season? I don't know.
Well, think about the next 2 games, though. I mean, you can't run on the Ravens. Like, they shut it down. And we're not running against the Ravens with this offensive line. And so do the Chargers right after that. I mean, it's going to be tough sledding here the next couple of weeks. And then we get the bye, thankfully.
And the Steelers are coming up.
Twice in 3 weeks. The Broncos.
I don't know if we'll get 100 yards of offense in both games combined against the Steelers. I'm being serious. I forget. They haven't hardly given up. They've barely given up points this year. I don't, and we can't score on anybody. We just played the worst freaking defenses that the NFL could muster. And they put them in a row for us. We thought this was going to be a tough schedule for the Browns. And we're 7 weeks in, and we have yet to play a good defense.
Yeah.
If we were competent on offense, we could be sitting at 6-0.
We're lucky we got the Jaguars week 2 because right now we wouldn't beat them.
Yeah.
Like their offense is starting to click. We'd be screwed.
So Chubb was a bright spot. I look for him to continue to get involved. What else did we need to talk about in this game? Did you want to talk about Jerry Jeudy?
I'll just mention it. I put it in here. I thought it was interesting that we talked last week. Okay, so we trade Amari Cooper, who's going to be the main beneficiary. I think you said Njoku, right?
Yeah, and you got a lot of touches.
I think me and Justin were kind of like Jerry Jeudy, and Njoku was the guy. Like outside of Cedric Tillman, it was Njoku. I mean, and I think he's going to continue to be the focal point. I mean, even the broadcasters yesterday were talking about, I mean, it's pretty much just the tight ends getting the action here. Like that's been our offense all year. Kenny Mack's been talking about that since training camp. It's all tight ends and running backs. We hardly throw to wide receivers. Jerry Jeudy, 0 targets going into the fourth quarter. And I was disappointed because the broadcast, of course, had to highlight it. Throwing his helmet down on this, he came off, I think we had like a 3 and out or something. Didn't get a target again. Throws his helmet down. He's sitting on the end of the bench, kind of like pouting and stuff. And then the offense comes back on the field the next drive, and Jameis Winston hits him right in the gut with a perfect pass, and he dropped it. And I was just like, "This is the Browns season here. This is it. This is what we're dealing with."
Just a lack of focus,
Yes.
A lack of attention to detail. In a way, you feel for a guy like Jeudy who left a bad situation in Denver. Thinks he
was so excited to be here.
So excited to come to Cleveland, play with a guy, like a mentor of his with Amari Cooper, play with Deshaun, who at least a lot of people thought was going to be good this year, play for a 2-time coach of the year, and now he's right back in another dumpster fire.
Yeah, if you saw this offense at the end of last year, you're probably like, yes, yeah, I'll play on Cleveland's offense. That was cool, man.
And so much of the NFL is opportunity in where you go. So many of these people who failed, they don't necessarily fail because they're not good. It's because they're failed.
Yeah.
And Jerry Jeudy's looking at this like, what do I have to do to get to a situation that isn't going to fail me? I've had to play for Nathaniel Hackett. I've had to play now in an offense that can't score 18 points, 19 points. I was excited to come here and play with Amari Cooper. They traded him mid-season. I mean, what do I have to do to get to a good situation? I can't even get targets in this ass offense, and it's so hard to keep focus as a wide receiver. I want to, he's a professional. He needs to catch the ball when they throw it to him. But when you're just out there essentially doing track practice for 3.5 quarters and all of a sudden he rifles it into you, I'm not shocked he dropped it. You haven't caught a ball in 6 hours since warmups. So it's a lost cause at this point.
Yeah,
honestly,
it's just
we're playing. I don't want to actively tank because like somebody said in the Discord, if you actively tank, it's just a bad culture thing and it leads to more losing. But we gotta be smart about what we do here and make sure we finish with like a top 3 pick and just maybe clean house in terms of the coaching staff and just get new voices in here, get the quarterback you want, get the core group of guys in Chubb and Miles and Denzel and all these guys. And just, it doesn't have to be to the studs tear down, but man, we got to be smart with what we do. And then you have to hit on the pick next year. You have to.
That's just so frustrating because I know we've got Hard Knocks coming up. We've got primetime games. We've got Thursday night games, Sunday or Monday night. It's just like, oh my gosh.
And 4 primetime games. And I think Hard Knocks is going to be incredibly telling on what's really going on. I don't know like how much they're really going to show, but from the outside looking in, it feels incredibly dysfunctional. And I'm hoping it's just not another Hugh Jackson kind of deal where we're 10 years from now, we're like, God, man, what are we doing? You know, and we laugh about it and joke. And this is us. This is the Browns. We're doing Cleveland stuff.
Every time I think it can't get worse, I remember that we're going to be on the in-season Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, ugh. And I remember when that was announced, I was like, oh, cool. I'll be excited. We're hopefully going to be having a good season. This will be cool. And then, oh man, if it's anything like last time, like Freddie Kitchens will be in the background. He'll be head coach next year. You know, like
I'm not gonna lie. If Kevin Stefanski looks at Dorsey and says, "Until you sit in this chair, let me tell you about something about sitting in this chair," I'm gonna be like, "Oh yeah, shit. We're 8 years behind again. This is
Hard Knocks just reusing. They just recycled that script.
Yeah,
yeah. Jesus.
Browns should not have left them in the building. I don't think the Browns have a choice. I don't think it's like an NFL thing. So I don't think they really have a choice.
Oh, I mean, whatever deals were made, it was agreed to.
Yeah.
Like there's been contracts signed.
Stupid.
Like it is what it is.
But all right, well, I think we should wrap it up because I'm depressed enough. In the Guardians season, at least the Cavs, I'm excited for the Cavs season. I think they're going to be good. I think somebody has this at fourth best odds to potentially win the title this year. I think the new coach is going to unlock Mobley. I think Darius Garland's going to come back into form. I'm excited for the Cavs. I'm usually not this excited for basketball season until closer to Christmas, but we're there. It's basketball season.
I know it didn't end the way we wanted it to, but I'm also extremely proud of the Guardians. You know what I mean? Like they, considering their payroll and everything, man, they put on a hell of a fight. That was a great series to watch until it wasn't. You know what I mean? And so, hey, salute to them. That was fun. That was a good time.
I've never watched a more competitive series that finished 4-1. You know what I mean? If you turn that game off in the eighth inning of every game, and then I said, hey, what do you think this series is tied at right now? You'd be like, oh, it's got to be 2-2 or 2. You know what I mean? Like you would not think that one of the teams almost got swept, if not for a miracle game. That game, this is the kind of moments we have to latch onto in Cleveland sports history. Outside of the LeBron title, we latch on to that playoff game. You know, that's maybe one of the best baseball games I ever watched. I still think about the Rajai Davis home run that he hit that we lost that game, but just that moment, you know, or the Tyler Naquin inside the park home run that year where he major leagued it and fist pumped at home plate. We just get moments like that when it comes to Indians or Guardians baseball, because until we're willing to pony up some cash, I think that's just about as far as we're going to get. So Guardians were a great season. Just go spend a little bit of money. Just get a starting pitcher or two and maybe one or two bats. And so we can go compete with the big boys. They're a great run organization. Just give the guy a little bit of freaking money, please, and try to win something. So good season, Guardians. I wish I could say the same for the Browns. I'm excited for the Cavs. I saw Cavs in here somewhere. Hopefully I didn't miss your comment. But, yep, go Cavs. It's basketball season. But just because it's basketball season doesn't mean we're not going to be here for the next 10, 11 weeks, whatever it is, bringing you Browns therapy sessions every single week. We won't leave you hanging like that. We appreciate everybody who's been sticking with us through the bad and the batter and the bad and the
Baddest.
ugly. Yeah, I was going to say the good, bad, and the ugly, but there's been no good and there's hardly been any bad. It's just basically been ugly.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you guys being here, sticking it out with us, hanging out with us on these therapy sessions, giving us stuff to talk about, just helping us get through this season. So again, thanks for being here, and we'll see you guys later this week when we preview the upcoming loss to the Ravens.